Good afternoon. Now we will continue with the Constitution. I am R. Narayanan. Perhaps you may have been closely seeing the audios. We will continue with the Constitution. In the last class, we have seen the subordinate courts, in particular the Lok Adalat, Permanent Lok Adalat, Family Courts and Gram Nyayalayas. From today, we will start a new chapter on constitutional functionaries, constitutional bodies. At the outset, we should understand what is a constitutional body, what do you mean by statutory bodies, what is an executive body. These three differences you should know. I remember we have seen this when we took up RTI. Now let me repeat it again. Constitutional bodies are those which are created under the Constitution. You will find out about this institution in any of the 395 articles given in the Constitution. If you have found the institution or constitutional authority in any of the 395 articles of the Constitution, then you can confidently say this is the constitutional functionary. This institution or these institutional authorities can be created or their service conditions modified or the post holders can be removed only after following the procedure given in the related article of the Constitution. In other words, these institutions as such get the protection of the Constitution, because these institutions have been included in the Constitution by the founding fathers of the Constitution who created the Constitution. So these institutions are creatures of the Constitution. Now, what are those? Election Commission, UPSC, State Public Service Commission, Finance Commission, GST Council, recent, National Commission for Scheduled Castes, National Commission for Scheduled Tribes, National Commission for Backward Classes, Special Officer for Linguistic Minorities, Comptroller and Auditor General, Attorney General of India, and the Advocate General of India. These authorities, these functionaries are called constitutional functionaries. So when we take up individual authorities, I will mention the article number. For instance, CAG 148, Attorney General 76. Immediately we will point out, because these are all included in the Constitution. So these are all constitutional authorities. The service conditions of these functionaries can be changed only by amending the relevant provisions in the Constitution after following the procedure given in Article 368. If such a functionary is declared by the judiciary as part of basic structure, even amendment under Article 368 is not possible. See the protection? You can amend, you can change the service conditions can be changed. Yes, by following the procedure stipulated in Article 368. But if judiciary under Kesavananda Bharati with the state of Kerala, if they have declared any institution as part of basic structure, then you cannot amend that functionary, that article dealing with such functionary, because it is part of basic structure. Even 368 is helpless. So, this is the constitutional functionary authority. Remember. Then come to statutory authorities. Statutory authorities are those created by a law of the parliament. If it is a union functionary, it is a law of the parliament. If it is a state, it is a state legislature. These institutions or holders of the institutions are governed by the Act of Parliament. So the Parliament makes the law. Under the provisions of that law, these functionaries are created and their conditions, service conditions are governed by the provisions of the Act. What are the examples? National Human Rights Commission, State Human Rights Commission, Central Information Commission, State Information Commission, Central Vigilance Commission, Central Bureau of Investigation, Lokpal, Lok Ayukta, National Investigation Agency, National Disaster Management Authority. Remember, all these authorities are legal authorities, statutory authorities, created by a law made by the Parliament. Now, the service conditions of the holders of these statutory posts can be modified, altered, changed by amending the relevant provisions of the Act. Remember, by relevant provisions of the Act, by approaching the Parliament. Most importantly, remember, any provision of the Constitution is not touched. You are not meddling with the Constitution. You are only amending the provisions of the Act by approaching the Parliament. Supposing the Parliament has already delegated the powers to the executive under the rule-making powers of the law. Executive means, remember, officers. Under the provisions of delegated legislation, otherwise called subordinate legislation, then the amendments can be carried out by the officers themselves with the approval of minister in charge. Remember, you need not go to Parliament for amending the provisions of the Act. In case the Parliament has already delegated the rule-making powers to the officers or executive. Who is executive? Government. Who is government? Minister in charge. Who will do the framework? Officers, bureaucrats, joint secretary and above. So, the rules are made by them and you can amend the provisions of the Act. In addition to these two, there are certain institutions which are created by the executive, by the government itself. You need not go to the Parliament. You need not amend the Constitution. You create. It has no support of law. For instance, let us say, Telecommunication Consultants India Limited. It is the creature of executive. So they create it, there is no law. It is the creature of the executive, minister in charge. That is why normally the ministers, the executive is fond of creating such institutions, because these institutions at the beck and call of the ministers. So these institutions are created by the ministers or the government, and they can be abolished also. If another minister comes, no, this is white elephant, you abolish it, abolish. You need not go to the parliament. You have to make a intimation, you have to make a statement, because the workers are involved. So if you abolish the institution, around 300 workers will be out of job. So you have to explain to the parliament, you have to make a statement. So this is the executive institution. Now we are coming to the first and foremost constitutional functionary called Election Commission. Election Commission is a permanent, autonomous, independent, constitutional body created by Article 324 PT1 to ensure free and fair elections in the country. Article 324 provides that the power of the superintendence, direction, control of election to the parliament, number 1, state legislatures, number 2, office of president, number 3, office of vice president, number 4, is vested with the election commission, PT2. It is an all India body, common to union and state, PT3. Article 324 is supplemented by various acts of parliament, like Representation of People Act of 1950, Representation of People Act of 1951, Delimitation Act of 1952, President and Vice President Act 1952, Government of Union Territory Act 1953, Government of NCT of Delhi 1991. All these rules, all these acts made by the parliament supplement the framework of election commission. Now, election commission is not concerned with the elections to panchayats and municipalities, for which a separate election commission is provided under the constitution, PT4. Panchayats and municipalities, there is a separate election commission provided under the constitution, PT4. If the election commission is a plural body, the chief election commissioner will be the chairman of the commission. The election commission was established on 25th January 1950, PT5. Till October 1989, election commission was a single body, only one chief election commissioner. On 16th October 1989, President appointed 2 election commissioners. What for? To cope up with the increased work of the commission on account of reduction of voting age from 21 years to 18 years as a consequence of 61st Amendment Act 1989, PT6. 21 reduced to 18, which act? 61st Amendment Act 1989. In January 1990, these 2 election commissioners' posts were abolished. The election commission was reverted to single body. In October 1993, Narasimha Rao government appointed 2 more election commissioners. Since then, it continues to be a plural body with one chief election commissioner called chairman election commission and 2 election commissioners. President can appoint, after consulting the election commission, the regional commissioners to assist the commission. Chief Election Commissioner and 2 election commissioners enjoy equal powers in salary, allowances, perquisites, etc. In the event of any difference of opinion, the majority decision will prevail. Majority decision will prevail. CEC has no veto power, no tie, only majority. So 3 people. In 3, who is, there cannot be any tie here. So, majority. Both the Chief Election Commissioner and 2 election commissioners hold their office up to the age of 65 years or 6 years, whichever is earlier. They can resign by writing to President, PT number 7. 6 years or 65 years of age, whichever is earlier. Now, Chief Election Commissioner enjoys security of tenure. He can be removed from office for proved misbehavior or incapacity only after adopting the same procedure as stipulated for the removal of the judges of Supreme Court and High Court. PT8. In other words, doctrine of pleasure does not apply to this constitutional authority. Why? Because no doubt they are appointed by the President. But they can be removed only after following the procedure stipulated for the removal of the judges of Supreme Court and High Court. So, doctrine of pleasure, that the person is holding their office during the pleasures of the government does not apply, the pleasure of the President does not apply to election commissioners, Chief Election Commissioner. Now, the service conditions of the Chief Election Commissioner cannot be varied to his disadvantage during the term of his office. During the term of his office. Election commissioners, now we are talking about election commissioners, do not have any security of tenure. In other words, the election commissioners can be removed on the recommendation of Chief Election Commissioner. So, the actual term is the election commissioners cannot be removed except on the recommendation of Chief Election Commissioner. It gives an impression that the Chief Election Commissioner can recommend the removal of the Election Commissioner. It is not correct. In Naveen Chawla case and the Nova case, Supreme Court said, Supreme Court in TN Session versus Union of India, I think, 1995, Supreme Court held that the Chief Election Commissioner and election commissioners are equal. Chief Election Commissioner is given the power for recommending the removal of Election Commissioner, but it is intended to shield them. It is intended to shield them and not to use against them. He cannot use it suo motu since he is equal of them. So remember, you have to carefully see Naveen Chawla versus Gopal Swamy case. The Supreme Court said, no, he cannot. See the sentence? Sentence is, the election commissioners can be removed cannot be removed except on the recommendation of the Chief Election Commissioner. It gives an impression that the Chief Election Commissioner can recommend removal of the Election Commissioner. That is the general impression. But the Supreme Court has said, you cannot use this suo motu. You cannot use this. It is a shielding. It is a shielding. If suppose one election commissioner is not favoring the government and the government is against, so they say remove this fellow, then the Chief Election Commissioner will come to his protection. So that is why it has been said, the election commissioners cannot be removed except on the recommendation of the Chief Election Commissioner. So remember, the provision is intended to shield them and not use it against them. He cannot use it suo motu since the election commissioner is equal to all of them are equal. Now, even though the constitution has sought to ensure certain amount of independence of election commission, it has certain flaws. What are the flaws? The Constitution has not prescribed any qualification for the chairman or the members. Constitution has not debarred any retiring or retired election commissioners from holding further employment under the state. For example, M.S. Gill, who was the chief election commissioner, was appointed as the minister in the government, in the union government. So, it is a sort of perks given to the person. So, you cannot ensure independence because of this. So, these are all the provisions of the Election Commission. We will continue with the provisions of Election Commission in the next class. Thank you very much. Thank you.